There you go, looks good. Let me get my other 21mm out. I'll be right back. So the notion is we want to get this lined up. You're going to have to pull the handle down a little bit probably. But we're going to get it right underneath here. This little subframe here. That connects to the lower suspension. So we get the saddle lined up right there, nice and good in the middle. And we're gonna make sure that we get the front wheels shocked because it is a front wheel drive car, so we should be fine, but we'll just do it for safety.
Whoa.
So it did move a little bit, right? So that's why we have our wheel chocks. The car shouldn't go anywhere because it's in park and it's a front wheel drive car.
So it's okay?
Yeah, you can keep going.
Good or more?
So the idea is we want to be able to get these jack stands under the pinch welds on each side. That way the car, we can let it rest there. So you can come check, look, we're close. We are actually pretty much there. You can slide this across, but we're kind of not there. We want it right here at this spot. So I just probably need one more pump there, and then we can get it underneath, and then we'll lower it onto these jacks. These jack stands. There we go. That would probably be good. Now you can try to see on your side whether or not you can fit it. You got it under there? Yeah, there we go. That's good. So now what Erica can do is slowly lower it on those. And we should have enough height to where we can still get the wheels off because they don't look close to touching the ground. Because it will drop about half an inch or an inch. Yeah, very slowly. There you go, nice job. And once it starts lowering, you can leave it at the same level. Is it all the way down? Cool. No, it's fine. Because honestly, since we don't need to get to this part of the car, you can just leave this here as a secondary or tertiary measure, right? To make sure that it doesn't fall on the ground. And we're not getting under the car because we're working on the sides of it. So either way, I like to move this because if we accidentally knock into it, right, we can make the car jar. So now we can get these wheels off. And we can try one side first and then do the other. So if you want, pull these off. Here we go. And you'll still need the wheel lock and stuff like that. So the next thing we want to do is we can actually go ahead and release the parking brake because we basically going to be messing with the caliper and stuff like that, so we don't want pressure on it and things like that. Honestly, I think actually this doesn't use the regular calipers actually to hold the parking, but either way I just put it down. Doesn't matter, the rear wheels aren't down anyway, so parking brake up or down is not going to really matter to the car at this point. So now we want to get the wheels off. It looks like her car. Sometimes if you're driving a lot of rust and stuff like that, it'll be stuck on here. So you can see like she's got all lug nuts off and it doesn't want to come off. I mean, honestly, the main trick is kicking it. You want to kick it at an angle, right? So you want to kind of kick it. There we go. All right, just want to make sure that I wasn't forgetting some step. So yeah, we got the wheel off. You can see like a little bit of that rust, a little bit of rust on the hub here and stuff like that. That's obviously keeping it from coming off very easily, right? So that's why we had to kick it and stuff like that. Okay, so move the wheels to the side. Now we have something to sit on. Okay, so we want to do the same thing on the other side. We'll just take those off if you want. Still not getting out of the car. I'll take this off.
Not a lot of room.
Will it come off, Ella?
No.
Boxing though, I thought she'd be the one to do it. So I figured she'd be able to get it off. And honestly, you can kick it from any angle because it's a circle. So now we can get started on the brakes. So let's do that. It starts squeaking a lot. There's always a viewing window in here, but you can even see from here how close everything is to the actual metal versus there's no flush in there at all, right? There's like no left metal in there at all between the pad and the actual rotor, versus if you look at our new ones, there's a solid, like, you know, centimeter, not centimeter, half a centimeter of meat on there. So we'll compare it more once we get it off. You can see the pad in there. It's almost all done. That's why she's hearing that squealing. So the notion is, the way the brakes work is, this spins with your car, the rotor, right, which is why it's called a rotor, because it rotates, right? And then when you hit the brakes, hydraulic fluid comes through these lines, right? These lines come through to every single corner of the car, and this fluid will push a piston in here, which we'll see later, and it'll clamp everything down so that it starts slowing down. All right, so once it clamps everything, I won't be able to turn this anymore, right? So yeah, that's what we're gonna be doing, is replacing these pieces because they're getting all worn and done. So my understanding is these are all 14, yeah, 14 and 14. So in order to get the brake pads out, we wanna release these pins. There's like these 2 pins here. There's pins here and here that allow this whole thing to slide. So the idea is when the piston pushes, it slides this. You can see how this has like a little boot. It'll slide this way and it'll push everything into the rotor, right? Push the brake pads into the rotor and clamp it and squeeze it. So we gotta get those out. So we wanna get this. I'm gonna guess her car's got 130,000 miles on it. She hasn't ever done the rear brakes. I'm gonna guess this is gonna be real stubborn to get off. So we're probably gonna want that breaker bar, that cheater bar. And so we can see, we can get that one. So this one looks like we do have enough clearance to actually not hit this spring. And so what we have to remember is the bolt's facing opposite way. It's not facing us right now. So if we want to go counterclockwise, we actually want to spin this clockwise. Does that kind of make sense? So who wants to try to break this loose? Okay, go for it, Erica. Cool, came loose pretty easy? Good. Pretty small bolt, so I'm glad. And the breaker bar makes things a lot easier. Yes, we can do the bottom one as well. So you could, in theory, spin it all you want with that cheater bar, but that's going to take you forever, right? So we have our electric ratchet as usual. I wish I had bought this like 10 years ago, but I guess if it was 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to afford it. So put this on there, and it's already set to loosen off, and so we get this loosened off. And so what we can also do, if we want, is I got some. There you go. Stop for a second. So what we don't want to do is get kind of stuck and kind of trapped, right? Because as it's backing out, we get a little bit trapped.
Press it the other way.
So you can just turn it the other way here. You can just turn this the other way and kind of push it back in a little bit. There we go. Once you can get it, there we go. And then you can do the rest by hand. All right, so again, I'm spinning clockwise because it's counterclockwise the other way, right? Then we have this pin that can come out here, right? All right, so we can put this down. There's not much grease on it. Put it down here. And we're gonna want to re-grease it later anyways. Okay, so now, I mean, honestly, we're gonna end up taking the whole bracket off, but it's a lot easier if we do step by step and stuff like that. So in theory, this should all be able to come off. Now, like this, you wanna go ahead and try to pull that off. And it's still gonna have all the hoses stuck to it, right? Because like I said, so this is that piston we were speaking on. When you press on the brake, it pushes fluid and it forces this this piston right here to come out. So it'll come out, this will push out, and it'll push onto our brake pads. And this is our brake pads here. So you can go ahead and try to get those brake pads out. They're already kind of sitting inside
let this hang here. You
can let that hang there if it's safe. It's not being hung by the hose, right? If you just find somewhere to lodge it. Exactly, like something like that. You can take those brake pads out and kind of inspect them and see how they look. Cool. So now you can do a comparison of what a fresh brake pads look like and what worn ones look like, right? So she's totally out, and you can see she's wearing into her own metal now. That's why she's hearing squeaking. And you can see she's actually literally wearing out the metal versus this one has a lot because we haven't been touching it. So this is like done pretty much, right? You can see there's some uneven wear too. That just kind of happens with time a lot of times. You just end up having uneven pressure because of that piston, and sometimes it just wears unevenly. You see the bottom is a lot skinnier than the top. And generally the idea is when you're at 2 millimeters or so, about like 2 pennies widths, you need to be replacing. About 4 pennies width, 4 millimeters or so is when you want to be looking to replace them. She's been running these for a lot longer than she probably should have and stuff, but you know, they're still safe. You still have braking compound here. It's just loud, obnoxious, and you don't want to go so far past that you hit this metal, and then that's not safe.
Can you show us side by side for both brakes?
Yeah, so here.
Neat.
So side by side, the profiles here, you can kind of see how much more braking surface she's gonna have. All right.
Definitely.
So other thing we'll also do is probably grease everything up for her. What's nice is this kit did come with new shims. These shims are designed to these pieces of metal here. We can take these out if you don't mind here. So she can take those out. Oh, she's gonna get the other brake pad first. Okay, I forgot you didn't get that out yet.
Clockwise, right?
Go clockwise, yes.
So many things in the way.
You just rotate it clockwise so that you can it doesn't slip again. Yeah, make sure you get it on. Can you get it on there? If you can't, you can take it back off of the bolt and then put that on there. Yeah. Sometimes it's tricky because you can't see it. Nothing off?
Yeah, it came off.
Okay, cool.
I just broke it.
Oh, you just broke it loose? So
Yeah.
the bottom one, let's use the 14.
You know, there's been a lot of talk in the car industry, or just the car community in general, saying one of the big questions is, where are all the car girls at? And they're right here, baby. They're right here.
Pop this off. It's a plug, it's rubber.
Oh.
All right, so this rotor is pretty well seized up on there. Oop. So you can hammer it like I'm doing, or what we can do is we can get a little bolt, put it through that hole right here, and we can tighten the bolt down and try to basically force it off of each other. But I gotta find a bolt that size. Over the years, you fix so many things and replace so many things, you get a collection of bolts of things that come off your car or other people's car or spare parts and bought parts, and hopefully one of these I can find will fit. Looks like the right size.
I don't think so.
First time's the charm.
Yeah, the only thing is I kind of want to find a shorter one than this. This is a pretty long bolt, but we should be able to use this as a measuring tool and see if we can't find another bolt similar in size. Can I help you, Erica?
We're just trying to remember which part.
Where'd that bracket go? Oh, you put it right here? Yeah. So yeah, I think this is where the e-brake actually comes in. So when you pull the e-brake, this opens up like a brake shoe kind of action. It opens up onto the inside of this rotor, and that's what holds your parking brake. So it's separate from the regular brake. The regular brake squeezes on this rotor, which is a cool design as far as like when your brakes are hot, you put the e-brake up, it won't start warping or like glazing the rotors and stuff like that with the brake pad starting to melt and stuff like that. So this is what holds your car when you hold the e-brake up. But,
How you doing over here, ladies?
Pretty good.
Got a little bit of drip going on over here? What's going on?
yeah, what's dripping?
She took off the one for the brake line back.
Yeah.
I think that might be brake fluid.
Oh shit. Which one? Man, I should have been watching you guys, I'm sorry.
I took this one out. I took this one out instead of this one, but now I put it back.
Okay, so brake fluid, yeah, it came out. So the problem with that is what we just did is like, you've just introduced air into the line. So right, so if you have air is spongy, obviously like you can compress air. So what happens is if she gets on the brakes and there's a little bit of air, instead of pushing fluid, like hydraulic fluid or brake fluid, into to squeeze the piston, there'll be this delay or this lack of action because you're instead pushing air, and air can compress. So air will kind of make this like springing effect, so it'll feel more spongy on her brake pad. So what you want to get off is this brake. I should have been watching you, I'm sorry. Just torque this one up. Make sure it doesn't keep leaking. Sounds like it takes about 14 foot-pounds, which is not a lot at all. The bad part, ironically, is that you kind of want to do this when it's all attached or all you know, when it's fully attached. Now you guys have already taken it off a little bit, which is fine. It's staying still. And plus, it seems like it needs more tightening than I thought. There we go. We hear that click. That click means I'm done. You want to be real gentle, not go play on that. So that should be all set now. That's probably why it's still leaking a little bit. It was more loose than we thought. So again, as you have it open, there's chances that air gets in. I bet you almost none got in, but again, it's not our car and we want to make sure she's extra safe. So we'll bleed it using this. This is the valve you normally use to bleed the brakes. So we'll have to do that a little bit later. We'll do that when everything's back assembled and do it at the very last step.
Okay.
All right, and by the way, this is a rear sway bar. We did the front sway bar for Carrie's car before. This is a rear sway bar. This is the end link that connects this little skinny bar. See this little bar? So we replaced, remember his, with that big red one in the front of his car. This is a rear sway bar because obviously we're at the rear of the car. So there's a sway bar in the front and the rear. All right, so looks like you guys got most everything off. So what you can do is now you can take it all off. You guys did that work. You guys can have the fun of taking it off. That's the most gratifying part, getting that all removed off. And then we'll talk about how to get that rotor off. You feel the edge, there's like no lip. See how it's just smooth? Now feel this, after years and years, you can see that it's been clamping down here and there's, you know, a little lip now. So I don't know if you want to feel that. So this is when you're turning a rotor and you're trying to, so you can see how it's just smooth, right? It's just an edge. Now feel the edge of this one and see how there's that lip. It's because literally we've worn down the metal here. So let's get off that rotor on that side first so we can do that step. So don't be afraid, it's gonna make a pop noise because basically you're breaking off a bunch of old, you know, 10-year-old rust or more, right? Hold that for you. There you go, you hear that? So let's get this one off and we'll finish. Yeah, just keep doing it until basically this is coming off by itself. See, it's still on there, like physically by hand, I'm still not strong enough to get it off. Keep going, yeah. Do a little wiggle. There you go. Now we can put on our new rotors. Literally, we just grab those new fresh ones and put them on where these ones were. And Bob's your uncle. Like, you know, I'm listening to brake hose. We're all set?
Yeah.
Okay. The biggest issue we have is like, so as these brake pads wear out and they get skinnier and skinnier, the car naturally compensates for it. This piston, as you can see, it's a little bit distended. It's a little bit out. We need to compress this piston because what's now, there's not enough space here for the brand new pads that are super fat and the brand new rotor, which is a little bit fatter. We won't fit it all in between these two spots. Does that make sense? It won't fit because it's so much more space. So what we need to do is compress this piston, right? So you have the e-brake down. We make sure there's no pressure, and we're gonna basically push fluid back. Now, some people say like, oh, you can try by hand and just press it in by hand, but I'm like, I'm not strong enough apparently. I've never seen anybody really do it that way, but some people say you can. So what we use is this tool that he loves to borrow from me and I hope he returns. So what we do is we find a way to situate it on here. This is the part that I'm most worried about with everything being still attached on the other side, but we should be all right. So just kind of put it on here. Make sure it's on a nice flush surface, or as flush as you can on this side, right? And put it in. You mind tightening it for me there? So we're gonna go clockwise. So,
I see it going in.
yeah, so it's naturally going in. It doesn't take a lot. Some rear brakes like the Honda S2000 are a little bit more difficult than this, to be honest, but this one's nice and easy. All you do is just kind of compress it until it's flat. When you first now get into the car and try to use the brakes, it's going to take some time for this piston to kind of make everything like tight again. So the first time you use your brakes after changing your pads, they don't work. You have to keep pumping them until enough fluid pushes this so it'll work again properly. So the first time you drive your car, to be very careful, because if you just start driving and all of a sudden you get to a stop sign, you expect them to work, they won't. But they'll work after like 4 or 5 pumps. And so you don't have to worry about making a mess. Unlike oil, if you get it on the ground, you want to clean it up. Brake fluid, you generally want to kind of clean up. Oil's the worst though. So we can just use this and just kind of spray it around the rotor like this. What we want to do is not do it in a closed space because, you know, it's going to spray all over yourself. And you want to do it with somebody who has disposable gloves usually, because sometimes it kind of eats into gloves or makes everything wet and feels kind of gross. So you can do it that way, or you can just lean it against something like here. Alright, just kind of take a quick spray of it. Just move your phone. Got mine. Here. So just do a quick spray. And the idea is to get all that oil they use so it doesn't rust in shipment off. Because it's just like alcohol or whatever. So now we'll throw it on there. Here you go. we're gonna put this back on. If it's the same as a Honda, you can, I believe, yeah, there's no really up or down. It's symmetrical either way, so you can just put it on however you need to. So it looks like, if memory serves, it'd be like this. So you're gonna put that 14mm bolt back through these, right? And then we can put that caliper on here later. Make sense? That's all you. And this on my watch, sorry. So what Ella's gonna do here is what I do before every single track day. And the moment I come back, I swap it right back to the stock brake pads and rotors. But before track days, I'll do all 4 corners and swap them out so that I have much more aggressive pads for the track. And then I come back and put back more street ready or street capable brake pads. The difference is street brake pads tend to be quieter, which a lot of people want, although mine are still loud because they're still aggressive. But the big thing is their initial cold bite. Is when the car's cold and you're just driving down the street, do they work the first time you use them? Because when you get more aggressive pads that are for the track, the first time you use them, when they're still cold, their operating range is much hotter. They're designed to work much hotter, so you need to kind of work them a few times before they work really, really, really well. Thing is, on the street, we need them to work the first time, but we don't need them to work that well because we're not making 100-mile-an-hour stops consistently on a track or something like that. So you have a different operating range. So what you'll do is, yeah, you'll put on the street ones because they'll work at a colder range, because on the street you're using less brakes, and on the track you want one with a hotter range, but it won't work well on a a winter day. In the morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, they won't work very well at the very beginning, which is a safety concern. Because if the first stop sign you get to, there's a kid crossing the street, and your brakes don't work that well, right? Obviously we can have an issue. So that's why we swap them back and forth.
Okay, they're finger tight.
So we're gonna get our torque wrench. We're gonna figure out. Yeah, go ahead, tighten them at least with the electric ratchet. So 41 foot-pounds is a decent amount to do on that small one. So we'll try to use the bigger one and get this situated behind it. So it's a 14, right? Because that's what we've been using. Mm-hmm. So we'll try it out. If I can find my pink socket, so this one will work. Put my pink socket on here, and we'll put this to about 40. And get there on there flush.
Yeah, it fits.
Okay, so obviously we're going to go now counterclockwise, so you're going to be lifting up, right? And you'll feel for that click. There you go, stop. There you go. So
And the same with the bottom one.
So it looks like it's sitting flush now. Good. And we're gonna go. Because I want it to not slip, I'm gonna get underneath it and just kind of slowly lift. Right, and you hear that double click because I immediately let go. So we're all good. Bob for uncle. So we get grease. So good thing your thing's kind of gross anyway, so you're about to get it really gross, and then we'll want to throw them away kind of. So what we'll do is we'll have Ella be the grease monkey for now, and so she can keep her hands dirty while Erica does the other stuff that we don't want grease to get everywhere for.
Okay.
You're generally just get like a whatever finger you want to use and just kind of lube it all up. Okay. So Erica, do you want to help with this side, or do you want to do that side? Okay. It's up to Ella. I guess she probably wants to do a whole side first, right?
Yes.
Yes, that makes sense. So we'll put the new pads on. Now we can just basically slide them on here. We need both sides though. With the brake indicator, it's gonna be on the outside. So this one will be on the outside. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we'll be able to pair them up. These with this. And then, yeah, that should be good like that. And then that side. We can press that caliper on that side. So what we want to do now is bring that caliper over there. Yeah. What's funny, a lot of people don't think about it, is like none of this is actually bolted on. It's all kind of just floating there, and the caliper holds it all together there. So now that we've got there, we're going to use our pins. We can just kind of leave that there. It shouldn't fall off. We're going to grab our 2 pins, and we're going to grab some paper towels. And we're going to wipe down. You can honestly probably just use this if you want. Wipe off that old grease and put on the new grease. And then...
So then I put the new grease
exactly.
and put them back in.
Exactly. Perfect. Make sure it goes in nice and easy. We don't need to force it. And then, alright.
And then the rest I could do it with the
You can use the electric ratchet. Yeah. And then we'll pretty much be done on this corner. We'll be able to put the wheel back on if we want to. Okay, let's do the other side. We'll grab that C-clamp and bring all those new pads and over. So I can kind of hold it up for you and maybe you can get it in there. You know what, we're so dumb, we should just leave the rotor off. Actually, if you want to be able to get access better, I did the same exact thing on the other side, I forgot. Good. Now it's flush, don't force it, we just go back it out. Just a couple, there we go, perfect. All right, now let's get ready to get that rotor on there. There we go. All right, so now what we want to do is get those two little stubby bolts that we had here that we put the bracket on, right? All right, let's see if I can just get the caliper to kind of meet up with it. Rather than trying to have it all lined up and flush. See, like that, and then kind of just start tightening it. Oops, not quite good enough. That looks good enough because now it's moving, right? Don't over tighten because we want to be able to do the same thing at the bottom, right? So the bottom one is going to be the bottom. So what I suggest is get on the ground. Got it? Maybe? Hopefully?
Yeah.
Cool. This out of the way for you. There you go. Yeah, once you hear that click, immediately release. There we go. So this bottom one, we know, okay, we need that extension again. So go ahead, remove just, not the black part, but there we go. And put this one on. Perfect. And then I suggest you lie where I was, and it'll make it a lot easier for you to line up that nice and flush and easy, and you'll be able to see what I was doing.
Wait, it needs to go down, right?
Yes, we'd be going down. There you go. Perfect. Done. Let's take that off. Now we put these new brake pads on. Yeah, no, so yeah, yeah, exactly. So you kind of see exactly which way it goes. Perfect. And the next one. There you go. Put this on the top part. Remember that paper towel that we had out? Any of them, doesn't really matter. They don't need to be clean. Yeah, that one's perfect. Yeah, don't waste one. Perfect. So what Erica can do once you got that situated is, if you want, you can get that grease off that spot here. We'll just wipe this off real quick. And now we're ready to put in those brake pads. This one, we said that these would go on the outside of the caliper, on the outside of the rotor, I mean. So go ahead and put that one on. So we want, now we want the flush facing the rotor, right? So there we go. And so you know that won't fit, so what do we? Yeah, so this is the flush on the inside, right? It's on the outside of the rotor, what I meant. So that's not fitting right? Because it's not following the curvature of the wheel. So, here we go. So again, when we think about body mechanics, what thing Erica's doing is, since she's leaning on one hand, she can't use both hands. What she wants to do is sit on her butt, and you can get the rest done, right? Because you're going to be here for a second. There we go. There you go, so the top came off. Yeah, there you go, you almost got it. So just go ahead and squeeze it. Good, that's good. So then, take long at all. Do the last one. Okay, so it looks pretty much flush now, looks everything good, so she should be able to let go. And it's the piston compress. We're all set here a little bit, and we got this little bushing here off. So right, so we're gonna go ahead and put that last pin. We're gonna re-grease this pin here that we had. All right, yeah, you can go ahead. Thanks for helping.
We're all set.
There you go. Perfect. That's good. Awesome. So,
What up, dog?
you know, I just realized we didn't torque down that last pin, did we?
Nice to see you. How you doing?
Good, good, good.
What kind of egg rolls you get, bro?
I don't think they have vegetarian eggs, do they?
Yeah, they do. I mean, certain places do.
Yeah.
Oh, you got these eggs, like you bougie. These are more expensive.
They are? I didn't know that.
Than the blistered looking one?
Really? Why?
I don't know. Probably the 10
Smooth.
You got the bougie egg rolls, he said.
Probably like
I like that.
wrap. I have them both. Oh, that's the plan.
What's that?
I'm trying that. You don't want gloves, girl?
You guys are all done?
Pretty much.
What? Oh, I'm fine. Got a snap.
Ella,
Yeah.
you we stay?
Yeah, what about, what?
Get a white claw?
No, thanks.
Thank you guys very much for tuning in to this week's episode of the channel. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next episode.